I'm Mark Honeyman from Mark the Moment Weddings, and I have a proposal. What do you say we have a conversation with two people whose wedding I was fortunate enough to officiate? For all you engaged couples out there trying to plan your weddings, too often you're forced to rely on website articles or some random AI checklist. Well, not today. Today, you get to hear directly from a couple who, not very long ago, was exactly where you are at this moment. Today on I Have a Proposal, we're going to take a deep dive with the help of Danny and Jessica into all the aspects of creating a wedding from the perspective of a couple fresh from the trenches. Danny and Jessica, I loved every second of getting to know you and planning your wedding, from that first get-to-know-you meeting at Bakehouse 46 to your exhilarating wedding day this past July at the Crowfoot in Pontiac. I'm honored to have you join me and to share your collective wisdom with our audience. Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Thrilled to have you here. Well, if you're ready, I say we dive in. So first of all, it's been about 6 months since your wedding. So how's married life treating you so far?
Great.
Great. 6 months, man. It goes so fast.
Yes.
It's
crazy.
like from engagement till now seems like 6 months. So the fact that it's been almost 2 years since that moment. Time just moves fast.
Wow. But you guys both look great. I'm thrilled to have you on. And I mean, there was just such a palpable love between the two of you. And clearly that's just continuing to emanate. So I'm ecstatic to see that, but not surprised at all. All right. So, I'm hoping that a big part of the audience for the podcast is going to be engaged couples trying to sort of figure out how they maneuver through all this craziness that is preparing for a wedding. So I wanted to start off with asking you some questions about sort of the overall planning process of your wedding, not specifically your ceremony, but just sort of the big picture stuff. So when you think back, roughly how far in advance did you start planning your wedding? And in hindsight, did you give yourselves enough time to get ready?
I think we started planning in, let's see, we got married in July, so I started planning in like December. I think, when did we start touring venues?
It's kind of a blur. It was still kind of warm. I want to say it was like September.
Oh, yeah. So I think we started with narrowing down just a venue. And after that, it was kind of a pause through the holidays. And then by January, it was a full speed ahead of getting everything.
Got it.
We were engaged March 1st of 23. So when we say September, it was September of 23 and December of 23 when the planning really hit the ground, and then hit the ground running, we'll say. And then, was it 24?
It was 24.
Time is so fast, man. I'm telling you.
I know. Isn't that crazy?
I'm forgetting that I'm in 26 is the problem.
Right.
Everything I said, push it up a year. It's 24. She's correct.
Got it.
I'm forgetting I'm in 26 at this moment. So
in retrospect, did you feel like sort of frenzied as you got closer to it, or did it feel like you kind of attacked things when you needed to?
I think we attacked things that we needed to, the big pieces, the getting the photographer and the videographer, and obviously you as our officiant. We tackled those things, I think at an appropriate time. It was down to like the little nitty gritty details and the, what are the table centerpieces going to look like? Those, I think I waited a little too long to kind of finalize that. So when it got down to the wire, I mean, we're like literally a couple days before the wedding, I was down in our basement freaking out how I was going to put things together. So it comes up quick if you're not prepared.
We had 3 hoops, if you remember, behind us during the ceremony.
Yes.
There was a big hoop and then there was 2 little hoops. And those hoops were in the basement for, I think, at least a year and a half. And her cousin traveled up here from Kentucky 2 separate times. I think they decorated those things 47 times, 47 different ways. And it wasn't really finalized, I think, until maybe, 2 nights before, the night before?
Yeah.
So those little details sometimes, it's funny how it's like, okay, well, if we're doing this and we're doing that, then this has got to look like this. And then something changes in the scheme of that, and that changes the whole thing. And full transparency, I was a more of a consultant on a lot of that stuff. She's an interior designer by day, so that was her baby. And she would just kind of ask me, because I don't have an eye for that stuff. I can't envision it until you show me. But it was just, watching that process of, well, this changed and that changed, so now this doesn't fit anymore. And watching, but it's one of those things when it did, and when you get the details right and the way you want it, I mean, it's there's nothing like it. So I'm much as that took a long time to finalize, it was worth every minute. It was worth all 47 different takes.
Right. Well, and it's funny because I directed plays when I was back teaching, and we would plan and do rehearsals and all this stuff for just months at a time, and then it felt like those last couple of days before the actual performance, everybody's running around like crazy, and it felt chaotic, and yet it somehow all sort of came together and synthesized, and certainly you could say that of your wedding. I mean, it was beautiful. There wasn't a particle of that day that from my perspective at least, that I would change. It came off flawlessly. So.
Thank you.
All right. So what was like when you think back? So you said the venue was the first thing you picked, right?
Yeah.
And then you then you start talking about like photographers and DJs and that kind of thing. Did you have a sort of a system for how you evaluated which vendors you wanted to pick?
Well, we landed on a photographer first after we got the venue, and then I think we interviewed five
photographers. That was probably the hardest process of them all, because those pictures are going to live on, and you really go through a lot of people's work and portfolios, and a lot of them were great. So sometimes kind of a bummer to deny somebody who it's like, your work is really good, it's just not quite what we're looking for here in this specific place.
Right.
That was probably the hardest, I think, of them all, really.
It was. I think between the work, or reviewing their work, and then
I'll be right back.
sorry, he's gonna get the squeaker out of the dog.
This dog never chews on squeaky toys. Ever. Until now. So
he senses the adrenaline.
He knows he's not getting attention, and so he's like, this'll show him.
That's right.
I think the other part beyond like the photos themselves was we wanted a photographer that we could connect with and feel comfortable with, since you spend your entire day with them. So we ran into like one that we absolutely loved, her and her personality, but she had never shot in like a dark setting before, and the Crowfoot is very dark, so that was like a concern of ours. So kind of working through, also looking at photos of our venue the other photographers had taken, and noting like, we like this about this picture, we don't like how dark it is in this picture. So we had like a kind of a baseline of where we were trying to squeeze a photographer in at. But once we got that, though, the photographer's website had a bunch of like here's partners that they like to work with, and I think we got our DJ off there, we got our videographer off there. So those, once we found the photographer we liked and trusted, then we kind of used that as our stepping stone to get the other.
Makes sense, because I mean, if you really trust your photographer, you know whoever they've worked with that they like is probably going to do what you want them to. So
Yeah.
yeah, that totally makes sense. So now, Danny, you kind of alluded to it a second ago, but how did the two of you sort of divide responsibilities as throughout the planning process, and what worked and didn't work in terms of who did what, and like how did that all sort of shake out?
There was a lot of, obviously when it came to decisions with who we were hiring to do different things, we talked a lot about that. She did most of the finding and things like that. I totally manned it up on this one, and I just kind of was like, let's see what we got, and we'll discuss it. And so that's kind of where that was. Now, I would say when it came to, majority of the planning was her. When it came to like certain things with the ceremony and the layouts there, that was probably more me, I would say. Not that, she was involved too, but
Right.
I'm a theater kid, grew up a theater kid, and I'm in a band, and so I have a little bit of a feel for like performance, and not that not everybody's wedding is a performance, I get it, but to some degree it is. You've got guests there that
Right.
you don't want them to nod off, and we didn't want to have the same wedding that we've all been to 100 times.
Yeah.
So I like to keep people thinking and even get a little weird with it at times. So we were able to kind of do that, and I felt like the ceremony, our personalities both of our personalities were able to shine through in that, and I think that was probably where I was I held the most value and was most involved, because that kind of gets me excited.
Sure.
As far, and obviously when it came down to the, DJ and stuff like that, being a music guy, I was, that was something we kind of came together on pretty well.
Right.
We're pretty similar, I think, in weird ways with what we like, even though if you really sat down with us, you'd think we're very opposite with our tastes. I got a whole thing of indie records right behind me that she'll never listen to. But, those things with really just how the actual ceremony rolled out, and the pieces of the reception that were a little more performative, I guess I would say. That was where I was most involved. She was really with just the timing of things and the way things looked. And if there's pictures, I don't know if maybe we'll send you some pictures. I took a couple pictures from up top in the balcony in the Crowfoot,
nice.
and that place is just immaculate. And that was, of course, the staff there set that all up, and they did an amazing job. And the DJ helped him, which he didn't have to. It was very nice of him.
Right.
But that vision was all hers and totally came to life, and I just kind of sat there and Yater-nate it, and now we have a basement full of antique lamps.
Yep.
Well, it worked. It really did. So was there as you were going through all that planning and trying to figure out whose strengths were needed at different points of the planning process, was there a moment when the two of you had a fairly substantive sort of, I really want it this way, and I really want it this way, and now how are we going to find some middle ground, or did it sort of flow pretty smoothly the whole time?
I wanted to zip line from the balcony down to the stage, and she totally nixed that right away.
Yeah.
Spoil sport.
Yeah. But no, outside of that, I got over that pretty fast. But
I bet.
I think I really just wanted to see where the ceiling was on where we could go, and ziplining was out of the question. But I don't know. I feel like we didn't really have any major impasses. I think I think our personalities shine through in this in a way that I found to be pretty unique or authentic to us anyway. And it just seemed like anything one person was passionate about, the other person was 100% okay with it.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's the one.
Hit like my strengths. I don't want to say were his weaknesses and his weaknesses were my strengths. But
That's
that's
true.
kind of how it went.
That's true.
Like,
Yeah. Yeah,
So
yeah.
it worked out really nicely.
No, I get it. And really, in a sort of larger symbolic sort of sense, that's sort of a metaphor for marriage, right? Where you all sort of contribute your strengths and try to help balance each other. And so, no, that's no surprise that that worked as well as it did. So, was there a particular decision or circumstance that you all found the most stressful? Not that you were disagreeing about it, but just like, do you remember one particular item that just caused you sleepless nights or, a lot of worry and fretting ahead of time? And if not, that's great. But if there was.
The only thing I think, which we're 100% happy with the route we chose, but venue is always tough.
Yeah.
Because it's like, how are we going to facilitate this? How are we going to have this, we're going to have this many people. Where are they all going to sit? Where's the dance floor going to be? What's the food going to be like? What's the food situation? Obviously, you have separate vendors for that, but different places have different preferred vendors, and a lot of times you end up having to pay a lot more if you don't use them. So you're kind of stuck with their vendors. Long story short, I didn't know about that. That's a thing.
Right.
So, the food was great, and I wouldn't have had it any other way too. I don't have any complaints with any decisions we ended up making. But personally, and then when we chose the Crowfoot, it's like, okay, there's a balcony up here, and I would go see my favorite bands there when I was young, and I'm like, the place is huge. It's not that huge when you're planning a wedding. So. There was really in that again she literally drew this building on the computer and made a whole layout of it and laid out the tables and everything just so we knew exactly how, and you had probably 2 or 3 different ways we could do it, and that
was stressful.
That was probably really the hardest part, was figuring all that out. In the end, again, we never really second guessed our decision on the venue, but there were some spots where it was like, man, this is going to be harder than we thought. But it turned out wonderful, and what an accommodating place. It was absolutely amazing. And I'm not being paid by them, I promise. But what I liked about them was a lot of venues. Because I've stood in a number of weddings, and it seems to me a lot of venues think you feel like you should be lucky enough to be at their venue, whereas the Crowfoot made us feel like they felt honored to be a part of our day, and that made it so easy all the way through.
Yeah, no, it totally makes sense. So when it comes to a wedding, everybody has an opinion, right? So how did you manage to keep things true to who you are as you were going through all the planning process, whether it was guest lists or food or whatever it was? And were there concessions that you made at certain points for friends and or family? And what advice would you give engaged couples about kind of how to maneuver through all those sort of alternate voices bombarding you about what they think you ought to be doing?
I think for us, this was our wedding, and we wanted it to be uniquely us. So I literally had every kind of point of the wedding written down, and we went through each one and said, how can we make this ours? And it didn't matter what anybody else on the outside wanted or said. It was, how can we take this piece and make it unique to both of us and feel like this is our wedding? Like it was, there were I don't know if we really had any outside opinions or allowed any outside opinions, to be honest.
My saying during that time was, we need to zig where most people would zag.
Yes.
And that was how we kind of got there. But no, I think in our opinion, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not trying to speak for you, but that's the only day you get, other than the day you're born, where it's all about you. And it's all about us. It was all about us. And darn it, we're going to take advantage of that.
I love that.
I mean, I think that in the end is what it came down to. It's like, we're only going to do this once, so let's just do it. And whatever, I mean, the zip line was legitimately talked about. It didn't last long, but I'm just I'm just saying that those types of ideas were thrown out, and then we
Right.
shrunk from there. So
Yeah.
we, whatever we wanted to do, if it was feasible, we did everything we could to pull it off.
That's phenomenal. Did you have a process for deciding, like, I mean, pretty much everybody, unless they're the Rockefellers or whatever, has at least somewhat of a budget to deal with. So did you have a process for how you decided, here's where we think we want to splurge, here's where we think we got to pull back a little? Like, how did you kind of balance those scales? Without getting, too deep into your personal finances or whatever.
In the beginning, there was this thought that we would splurge here and cut corners here and splurge here and cut corners there. And you just end up splurging, and everybody on everything, just about.
Yeah.
And everybody
Yeah,
I've
that one's
talked to, that's because a lot of my friends have gotten married within the last 5 years, and they all, and some of them are very, very good, like very tight with their money, and they're like, yeah, we blew our budget right out of the water. And
It's not hard.
Right.
the more you
Yeah.
do, the deeper
Yeah.
you get into it, the more, kind of just like when we're talking about the decorations, about if we do this, now we need to do this, sorry, we need to do that. It's the same thing with the money. It's like, well, if we're going to do this and we're not going to cut this corner now, well, how can we turn around and cut that corner? And so you just kind of end up. I'm not saying your wedding has to be expensive or not expensive. I'm just saying, your budget, whatever it is, there's a real good chance you're going to go over it
Right.
by
Got
like
it.
20%.
Yeah. So as you were planning, did you use any kind of special? I mean, Jessica, you were wildly organized in a way that I have such an intense amount of admiration for. You knew exactly what you wanted, how to put it together, when to put it together. Were there certain tools that you guys used, whether it was spreadsheets or checklists or diagrams or conversations with trusted advisors, or like anything that kind of helped you stay organized?
Yeah, it started on Word, it moved to Excel, and then I found a website that I can give you a link to later. I can't remember. It's
Okay.
Jamie something, and she has like all wedding content. So I watched probably 150 of her YouTube videos and ended up buying her program, and which came with like a ridiculous amount of spreadsheets, and used all of that to kind of keep track of everything.
Got
But
it.
I think my day of timeline, I believe there's a website, I'll have to get you the name exactly, but I think it's called Day of Timeline, something like that. And it was the best tool I've found the entire like wedding planning process. You literally just input your information in, and it just spit out the full timeline, like down to like who's bringing lunch when you're getting ready, like just the little nitty gritty details. And it was sort of the bow that kind of brought it all together and brought all the pieces together and let everybody know where they need to be when and what's going on next. And that was probably the most helpful tool the entire planning process. I wish I had found it earlier. I found it at the end.
Shoot.
But it was still worth it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that was
Cool.
definitely the most valuable tool I found.
Cool. I know that a lot of couples talk about the stress of coming up with a guest list. Any advice for couples about how to handle how many people, how many family versus friend, like was that something you guys had to really wrangle over, or did you have a pretty clear vision?
That was tough because I love everybody and I want everybody to come. So that was kind of tough. But I think in the end, you do have to just hit a point of like, okay, you got to be honest with your relationship with some of these people. And you got to think about how much it is, because that is really the number one way to inflate or deflate your budget is the food. I felt like
Yep.
out of everything else, the costs are kind of standard, but those plates cost X amount, and debating on how many plates you're going to buy, that is really going to make or break what your budget is. And so you've got to be honest with yourself, and you may have some hurt feelings, and it is what it is. I think that on the other end, as someone, a potential guest to a wedding, like, I got to understand that it costs a lot of money to feed me there, and it's, if there's not room for me at that, it is what it is. But I felt like that was tough, though. We probably spent,
A lot of time.
we had my parents come over and look at the list and tell us, and we thought they were going to shave people off. They just ended up adding more people. I'm sitting there going, do we feel bad about maybe not this person or that person? They're like, no, forget those people, but what about Aunt Joe? I forgot. And it's like, oh no. And then her kids and nephews and whatever. So that was probably 5, 6, 7 different nights throughout the process, just devoted to figuring that out.
We wanted 115 guests. When the list was made, we were at 175. So to whittle that down was a challenge, and I think we landed at like 130. So slightly over what we were anticipating, but I think that is an important first step too. Like, gives you a good basis for when you're looking at venues too. Like, how many guests do you have? So we were going to all these thinking we were going to be around 100, 115. So when we saw our guest list at 170, we're like, the Crowfoot won't even accommodate that. Like, it will, but y'all will be like sardines in there. So
So it is interesting that maybe coming up with a guest list before even looking for a venue, because there some places just aren't going to be able to fit the number of people you want to. So
and you'd be surprised how many people too. Like, I was like, oh yeah, we're not going to get that. We're not going to be up in the 200. We could have easily invited way over 200 people. Like,
yep. Oh man. So all right, so you've got the one legal piece of documentation that has to be a part of the process. Anything about the wedding license, either where you got it, when you got it, how you got it, anything, or even obtaining copies afterward, like certified copies afterward, anything about that you think you should warn couples about, that kind of caught you off guard, or that they ought to be alert to?
you picked up
Yeah, I went to Macomb County or clerk office or something like that. I know right where it is, but I don't remember exactly what the place is called. But yeah, I went there, and they made me put my right hand up and swear to God all the information was true, which I was not prepared for that type of process, but it was fine. I did it, and we got the license, and that actually, I don't recall that really being too difficult, Luck, other than them putting me on the spot like that. We were good.
Good. All right, so let's kind of switch gears a little bit and talk about the ceremony itself. So, how did you, if you remember, that 15-page questionnaire that I sent you guys, there are a lot of pieces that can go into a wedding. How did you all sort of sift through the different options and decide, okay, these 4 things are non-negotiables? Like, what were some of those non-negotiables, and how did you land on those?
I'm trying to remember the questionnaire. That was a while ago.
Well, it was things like, cell phone usage. Are you going to have a unity ceremony? Do you want me to retell your love story?
Gotcha.
How do you want to do the vows? Is it going to be you saying them to each other personally? So there are a lot of layers to it.
Yeah, I think we already had an idea, or at least in the ceremony too, we had broken down each one of those categories, and we're just like, how do we make each one uniquely us? And how how does that all come together into a cohesive, unified ceremony?
Right, right. Now, I know the unity ceremony or the unity ritual mattered to you guys a ton.
Yes.
You wanna talk a little bit about how that sort of took shape?
Well, that was something, yeah, that we absolutely wanted to do. And obviously, we've seen people do sand and this and that. And you know, I have a daughter from a previous relationship, so there's three of us involved. So we added her to that as well. And her favorite drink is a Shirley Temple, which is a non-alcoholic drink for anyone who's not familiar. She's 15 years old, but we had so we made one of those, and I think it's to show that the three of us are a family, and I like the symbolism of that. I thought that was
Yeah.
cool and necessary.
Yeah.
And I think that was really her idea, but I'm 100% on board with it. And then I'm trying to, you already had a pretty unique ceremony put together, which was, again, that's why we went with you, is because I knew right away, because I was like, that's a theater guy, and I know these people. He's going to understand the assignment. And so, just a lot of the little things that you already had there that I was like, we got to keep, especially like, I always speak lyrics to people, always. Oh, I do it at work. People don't even know I'm doing it, but it's
Right,
just
right.
it's just one of those things. If a lyric comes to mind when there's a situation, I'll usually just recite it and move on. And you had a lot of those in your ceremony already, and then obviously some were changed just to be more specific to the situation. But I loved that, and that was something that I was like, yeah, we cannot deviate from that too much, because those are great. And then I think, there were certain things we wanted out, like what was, you were really adamant about not having like the symbol of the ring and stuff like that.
The typical kind of
Yeah.
vow.
We just
Right.
we were kind of adamant about, it being authentic and not giving everybody the same ceremony that they sit through.
Yeah.
We have to have the ceremony, so let's make it a little bit interesting. And we had a couple bouts with, well, at least one. We had, when we went to make the Shirley Temple, when we walked over to the table, we had the Shirley Temple, what's that song, the Lollipop song.
Oh yeah,
playing.
chip lollipop. Yeah.
Yes, and yeah, I wasn't sure what it was called. I almost said a bad word, but but little things like that, we wanted to find those little opportunities, I guess, for things like that. And I mean, if you go back to even just the entrances and stuff like that, all the way through. I mean, we, instead of having a wedding party, we had an I Do crew, and they came down playing fake blow up instruments. Man, it's amazing doing this right now, because I don't think I've thought this much about it. It was such a blur afterwards, and I haven't been able to get it back. So I'm sorry if I'm like, blah, no.
Oh no, you're capturing a lot of the pieces. So
Okay, yeah. But I mean, it was all of that. It was important to have. We wanted to have all our friends, but we didn't want them to, have to go buy or rent dresses and tuxes and stand up there with us and all. It's like, come down with us. We want you to be a part of it, but have fun and let's just enjoy it. And right off the rip, we're telling people this is going to be a little weird, so strap in.
right. So all right. So the two of you chose to write personal vows to each other, and they were extraordinary. They were beautiful. And so, what advice would you give to couples about writing vows to each other, and in particular, anybody who's a little bit, I mean, Danny, I know you've done a lot of performing or whatever, so you're pretty comfortable sort of letting it all hang out. But a lot of people are like, oh, the spotlight's on me. This is gonna kind of, So what advice would you give people about writing their own vows, and in particular, how to overcome I don't want everybody looking at me?
I'll take this one because I didn't want everybody looking at me.
Okay.
I definitely found, I felt like my vows were somewhat lengthy. but because I gave vows to Cadence and then I gave vows to Danny, so it was a
Right.
lot to read. But in the moment, you just kind of block it out. You're focused on giving your vow to the person they're looking at. So
Yeah.
but I found the most helpful thing. I read my vows 100 times before having to stand up there and actually say them. And if I hadn't done that, I think I would have been way more nervous, way more concerned. And I also wrote my vows in I don't know what you call it, like the way you speak, like in
Yeah,
a,
like a
Cadence?
like a conversational rhythm.
Yes, yes.
Yeah,
So I
got
wrote
it.
it in the cadence that I speak in, so it was
Yeah.
really easy to not have to think about where to pause, where to say the next line. So I even wrote like pause in there and wrote exactly
Yeah.
what to do so that if I were getting nervous or unsure, I would know, okay, this is where we're at, this is what we're doing. And
Yeah.
I hate public speaking. This was not, I was nervous, but in the moment, I was so focused and engaged on saying the most important things that I've probably said in my life to somebody.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it was just a total, more like trying to keep emotions in check than caring about what anybody in the audience was looking at or seeing. It
Right,
was just like, okay,
right.
keep it together. We got this.
Yeah, right. Well, and you know, I to me that's one of the tenets of great performing is practicing so much that it just
Yeah.
like well, even for a sports team, same thing. You don't run a play once and then hope to God during a game you're going to remember how to do it, right? You do it over and over until it just becomes second nature to you. So I think it's a brilliant strategy and staying true to the love you felt and letting that sort of naturally flow, and it came off. I mean, it was absolutely beautiful. So, all right, let me see if there's anything else here about the ceremony. So, all right, so you know, some couples get trapped in this. You know, we gotta do 5 minutes, and otherwise people are gonna get bored. You know, what advice would you give to couples who are worried about a ceremony going longer than it should, quote unquote, and feeling like they have to kind of curtail a lot of stuff that they would have loved and that people probably would have enjoyed, but they're so worried about people either getting bored or you know them being nervous or whatever. How would you sort of advise them in terms of the length of their ceremony? Because yours
Well-
was probably a solid half hour.
Yeah, I think we were kind of saying like a half an hour was right around where we wanted it, but
Right.
I think that again, it's your day. It is all about you. And if you know, some of these people may not even really know you that well, depending, you know, they're a guest or this or that. So it's like just getting caught up in the series here, and your wedding's going to kind of give them part of that story of what it is they're witnessing between these people, which you did a great job of as well, you know, with the
Yeah.
information we gave.
Thank you.
That I don't think that story could have been told any better. So I appreciate
Thank
the
you.
way you did that.
Thank you.
But go ahead.
And to just add to that real quick, like that story obviously is our story, so it's not as like engaging to us, but a lot of those people had never heard our story. So while we're standing there listening to it and stuff, it's the first time a lot of those people have heard it. So it may
Yeah.
sound like, oh no, this is taking a long time, but I can't tell you how many people came up to us afterwards and were like, I was just so great to hear your full story, how you guys met and the engagement, all of that. Like everybody loved it and loved you and
Thank you.
It was definitely very special.
I appreciate it.
I think if it's again, they're witnessing an event here. This is an event, and it's two people on stage. It's one of, if not the biggest event of their lives.
Yeah.
It's worthy of 30 minutes. It really is, and it's
Right.
and it's fine to give them that. You know, I think if it's too short, sometimes there's been times where I feel like my butt just hit the seat and then it's over, and I'm like, it happened. They're kissing already. Okay. I mean, cool. Reception's gonna start soon. Cool, you know. But overall, I think I just don't. It is the one day where you shouldn't care. And I know this maybe contradicts a little bit of what I've said earlier because to some degree we were focused on entertaining the people. But at the end of the day, everything we did is what we wanted to do because it's our day and it's the only day we get to do everything we want to do and nobody can say a single thing about it. So do it your way. That's really it. Do it your way.
Yeah, here. Thank you, by the way, for what you said about the love story part that I wrote. That's kind of my gift to my couples, and I spend just hours and hours, and I rewrite it, and I think about how do I synthesize, because each of you submits your answers separately, and then I have to figure out how do I make this sort of like come together and coalesce in a way that'll be a nice flowing story with some humor and some tears, and so that is, it's such a joy for me to try to bring that to life, and I'm so glad that it hit you guys and it hit so many of your guests. That just delights me. So all right, so let's talk a little bit about your experience with me as your officiant. So when we met at Bakehouse 46, were there certain things that you were looking for or certain questions you asked where it kind of like clicked where you're like, okay, yeah, this might be the guy. This might be the one.
So you were the only one interviewed in the end. And we had other ones lined and we were looking and then we were just like, you know what? I think, again, I think we all kind of felt comfortable with you. You're a teacher, retired teacher, but right there is something that, I think not all teachers, but most teachers have some endearing qualities that make people feel pretty safe and warm around them, and you had that. So it felt easy. When we talked more about it, and you were, again, I know I keep talking about the theater thing, but we have that in common, the theater, the music, and it's like, not everybody has been in a play. Not everybody has directed a play. Not everybody has been on stage and performed. And I just think there's a certain level of molding that your brain gets molded in a certain way when you do those kinds of things. And I'm like, he's going to know what to do. He's not going to get tripped up. If something goes wrong, he's going to know how to embrace it and roll with it. He's going to understand the ebbs and flows of how a thing should move. And I felt really good about it. She did too, because if she didn't, then I'm sure we would have talked to more people. So,
right.
But I think knowing those things right away helped us all feel comfortable. And then, because I felt like I could relate to you, and then
I think the openness to have us have a totally unique type of ceremony too, and not trying to push us or pivot us into like, well, you probably should have these as your vows and this is typical. Like, I think you were just so like, how crazy do you want to get? And like, you came up with some ideas that were like, that's absolutely what we want. Like, we didn't even know it. Like, it was perfect. It was just a perfect balance.
I had multiple people,
awesome.
and just like I said about the Crowfoot, Mark is not paying us to say any of this. This is just honest to God truth, which is why we wanted to come on here and talk about it. But I had multiple people, including my stepdad. The first thing he said to me, he shook my hand and congratulated me and gave me a hug, and then he said, that guy was the perfect guy to run your ceremony. He's like, he just fit in. It was perfect. And I think it was. I think, it's, and I don't mean this in a bad way, because the same thing about me. When Jessica and I first started dating, probably third date in, she was like, you're kind of quirky. And I was like, yes. And I just felt like Mark was a similar kind of quirky to me. And I was, and I think just fit the personality of the event we were trying to have. Like, you just fit it and enhanced it. And I think that's what really made it, and that's I guess another reason why a 30-minute ceremony, people were very entertained and nobody was getting restless, and I didn't hear anybody snoring, and we got nothing but compliments about it the whole night. So
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, no, I wear the quirky mantle proudly. So
same, it's the only way.
that's exactly right. That's exactly right. Oh, that's funny. So if you were, well, I think this next one you might have already kind of addressed. So, I think a lot of couples think, oh, just an officiant is there to read some boring script or just go through the motions. So, like, at different parts of the process, and then on the day of, could you tell how invested I was in trying to make it a day that was utterly unique, that truly spoke to the kind of human beings you are and the kind of values and personalities that you have? Did that I hope come through in the way I worked with you, and then how things came to be on the day of?
Yeah, just like I said about the Crowfoot, how it was like, it seemed like you wanted to do right by us right off the rip. It was all about how we wanted it, and you had endless options of things that you could do during, and you were just willing to mold it and do it however we wanted. And then if we were like, hey, maybe we want to tweak here or tweak there, like, you just knew what to do. You just knew how we would want it. Like, you really took the time to get to know us, and we had a couple of meetings, and you really took the time to get to know us, and I think that's why that really shined through in the way that the ceremony went. But no, I mean, and there was no shortage of contact. In fact, if there's a shortage of contact, it was on our end half the time, because I don't ever read my email, my personal email anyway, unless like somebody tells me, hey, there's something in there.
Right.
Things like that. But I would look in there and I'm like, oh, Mark emailed us like 4 times. Oh shoot. And it was all valuable contact. It was all stuff we needed to see, but we all, there's 1,000 things going on at that time. But no, I mean, you absolutely, it seemed like we were the only thing you had going on, which I know wasn't true, because you had a wedding. Was it the night before, or was it the week before?
Both.
Oh, right. So we weren't the only thing going on, so, but you made us feel that way. So thank you for that.
Oh, that I'm thrilled, because that, I've been talking in some of the interviews with the other like wedding professionals. For me, I don't think of what I do for and with couples as a commodity. It's to me, it's about the relationship that I build. And so trying to be there for people and be the eye of the hurricane, where they can kind of come and just breathe and know, hey, things are going to be okay. And, so that really means a lot to me, and I appreciate it. And you were, I mean, that day was completely, I mean, I was saturated in trying to make sure that day worked out the way it needed to for the two of you. You deserved it. And I was going to do whatever I could to make that happen. So, all right. So let me ask you this. What couples want their wedding to feel like different, right? In a good way from other weddings they've attended. And they want it to be, that was so us. So like right from the very beginning, when I started some of the opening comments and things about cell phones and whatever, and then the musical transitions, where I researched all these like lyrics that I could use as sort of jumping off points at the beginning of each section of the ceremony, and then you guys offered some alternates. I'm like, oh yeah, it's so cool. So like, is there any part of it that felt like, oh wow, this is like ground he's been treading on 100 times before? Or did every piece of it feel like, wow, this is truly us? Because that's what I was aiming for.
Every piece felt truly like us. I didn't think any of it felt.
There's a mixture to that though, because what was interesting of it is, it felt like truly us, but also like you've done it 100 times. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean that in, I could tell you rehearsed it. You didn't just show up there that day and just do it and go, oh, I wrote that word. You had it down, and you recited Eminem at the beginning of the ceremony. And you did it. I could hear you through the door because we hadn't entered yet, and I could hear it, and I was like, he nailed it. He knew exactly what to do. Like that William Shatner almost style. But just thinking of all that, like I could just, it's like, it was so authentic to us. There's no way you could have done that before. But at the same time, I could tell you did your homework, and you did it so much that everything felt very, very natural and comfortable and sounded very, very natural and comfortable.
Every single thing that I say has meaning, and we talked about every single thing, and I wanted it to come off as exactly what you wanted. So, all right. So you talked about what people said afterward, which I'm absolutely ecstatic about. That thrills me. The two of you decided to invite me to the reception, which not every couple has, and I don't expect it. It's, if anything, it's way out of the norm for that to happen. And I was really moved by that. And so what brought you to that decision? Because it touched me, and I was just, because most couples are like, hey, thanks, we really appreciate what you did for us, and then I'm on my way. And so this was an extra layer that mattered so much to me, and I was just curious what brought you to that point of asking me.
I think we had just worked so closely with you and got to know you so well, and you knew all about us and our story, and you wrote this beautiful story about us, and you kind of felt like family at the end, and we're like, we have to invite him, and his wife, why wouldn't we? So even with our exploding guest list, we're like, Mark has to be on the list. So
well, that I'll tell
right.
you. I was so moved by that, and my wife Mary was ecstatic, and we had such a great time that night, and we loved celebrating with the two of you, and we were so honored to be a part of the whole experience, from the beginning of the ceremony till. So all right, so we're I'm kind of drawing to a close, but is there any question about any element of either your planning, the ceremony, anything that I haven't asked you that either A, you think couples would benefit from hearing, or B, you're just ready to talk about and aren't ready to say goodnight until that happens?
I just can't stress enough, and maybe I'm selfish, I can't stress enough. It is your day, and it's the only day that you can do just about anything, and nobody can say a word about it because it's yours. Everyone else is just along for the ride. So enjoy it and have fun with it, and really try to enjoy it, because man, it really does. And everybody says it, and it sounds so cliche, but it's so true. The planning period goes so fast, and when you get there, that day moves so fast.
Yeah.
And you need to just stop and savor the moment. We kind of went and hid at one point and just took it in, because it was an amazing day, and we put a lot into it, and it turned out honestly, it turned out better than I thought it would. And it was when we planned it, it was everything we wanted, and it was even more than that, I think. And I just think, don't be afraid to go for it. And I know, even if it's, there's many different ways you can do it. It's not all about buying or having the most expensive thing or the most expensive caterer or anything like that. Just find, if you want nachos at the wedding, get nachos. We did. You want coney dogs? Get coney dogs. You don't have to feed everybody a plate of pasta with a brick of meat in the middle of it.
You're right.
Do what you want. Do what you want. It's your day, and I just cannot stress that enough.
Yeah, that's beautiful advice. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
This, but I do think it was one of the best moments of the day was when we did take that pause and spend 5 to 10 minutes alone. It was right after we got
It was after the ceremony,
just
but
after the ceremony.
after all the pictures, because
Yep.
there's so when you think you're done with pictures that day, they've only just begun.
Right, you're right.
And that was probably the only moment where I felt a little bit of irritation was after about the 9,000th picture.
Right.
But yeah, But after that, we did.
Having just that few minutes to just feel like, wow, we're married. We just did this whole big thing, and let's sit and just have a moment together. It's very special. I would definitely recommend having that moment, and it doesn't have to be long because you don't have long, but just that 5-10 minutes to be alone, no cameras, nobody else around, and just be like, wow, we just did this.
Right, yeah. Just sort of slow the rhythm of the day down for a minute so you can
Yeah.
live in the moment, really feel it at the deepest part of you, because you're not trying to, contend with 1,000 other variables at that point. So I think that's brilliant advice. Absolutely
And put
brilliant.
it in your timeline. Put it in your timeline so everybody
seriously.
knows.
Yeah,
I did that.
no,
So the
I'm
photographers knew. Everybody knew.
Yeah.
All right, they've got 10 minutes to be alone.
Oh, I love that. No, I'm going to definitely add that. Well, you two, I cannot tell you, I've had such a great time reconnecting with you and listening to all the stories and reliving what was truly one of the most remarkable days of my life and not just my officiating career, but just my life. I mean, that was really a meaningful experience, and I'm so grateful that you allowed me to share that and play such a prominent role. And so thank you for being on the podcast today. I'm so grateful for you sharing as much as you did about your wedding journey and our connection to each other. So thank you for the time. I'm truly grateful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Stay in touch.
I sure will. All right. Well, I'm gonna wing us out on a couple of farewells here, a couple of thank yous. So, I want to thank all those engaged couples out there who recently experienced a proposal of your own. I hope that episode today gives you a lot of ideas for how you might want to approach your own wedding, and maybe even who you might want to officiate it. If you enjoyed the episode, please click that subscribe button and follow me on social media at Mark the Moment Weddings. I'm Mark Honeyman, and by the power vested in me, I bid you farewell. Until the next time, I have a proposal.